So here we have the 2023 Hyundai Ioniq 5. Is it worth the what? Let's find out.
So it's been 1 week since we've been driving this Ioniq 5. This is a very important car to us because for Andrea, who's replacing her Lincoln Corsa Air, this is on the short list as a potential candidate. It's this car, it's the Mach-E, and what's the third one?
The Tesla Model Y.
Okay, so you've been driving this the most. Why do you like this car?
I love how simple the interior is. I love how basic it is, how easy it is to navigate through the screen. You have the physical buttons here, which I still really love. I love the fact that it isn't like a Tesla, where you have just a big screen.
I mean, I wouldn't call all those physical buttons. All this stuff here is
no,
like
but you have physical buttons.
You have some physical buttons.
Yeah.
Right.
So I love that. I love that about the car. I love that it has two screens, two 12.3-inch screens. You know, you have one in front of the wheel and one on the side. So I really love that aspect of the car.
Okay, but that, like a lot of cars have two screens. Like, why do you, what is it about the drive that you like?
It's smooth, turning is easy. It isn't as powerful as, let's say, the Model Y,
well,
right?
That's because you are driving the long-range rear-wheel drive model. But the dual motor version is a little bit faster. Not Model Y fast, but faster.
Right, not Model Y fast.
So let's give some stats to our audience first. So this one is how many horsepower?
225.
225 horsepower. How much torque?
258 pounds of torque.
Okay, so I drove this onto the highway. I tried speeding with it. Like, obviously, this is not going to beat a performance model.
0 to 60 in 7 seconds.
Yeah, it's slow, but it's not slow at the same time. Like,
it
still feels fast enough, especially when you put it in sports mode. You're going to get around people, but obviously, you're not going to be beating out other electric cars in a straight race, which is fine.
Which is really not a big deal to me.
No, for you, it's not.
I know most people would like that, but I this will be a family car.
For sure.
And you're not going to see me speeding on the highway all day long.
Well, you should try doing that sometime. You might feel better about yourself.
Yeah, maybe.
But look, I like how spacious it feels inside, even though technically like the width of the car is not as big as other crossovers. But because they've opened up the bottom floor, it just feels really spacious. Like I can play soccer with you if you want while we drive, which is kind of nice.
You play soccer?
Not that you should do that because it's dangerous, but you could. Right? One thing I do really like about this car, and this goes for all Hyundai cars recently, is their design language. Like, the Hyundai engineers and designers are doing such an incredible job of being different compared to everything else that's out there.
Like this car is so unique, it's not like any other
Like, the exterior of the car is 80s. Like, I just feel like I'm back in the 80s. You got the pixel lights. You have kind of like a DeLorean feel to the look. You have the retro hubcaps, which look really cool. It's just nothing like on the road is like this.
I like that standard is 19-inch wheels.
That is cool, too.
Right?
You get a lot for the money, I feel like, with this car.
Yeah.
Now, I will say, I do like the drive of the Kia EV6 better. It's a little bit more sporty. It handles the corners better.
For sure.
Even like, they're both stiff cars in terms of how it turns, more like BMW stiff. But this feels a little bit heavier when you're turning it, whereas a Kia EV6 handles those corners a little bit easier. So if you prefer a more sporty drive, I would push you towards the EV6 instead. Now, just like the Kia EV6 and the Ioniq 5, we have two 12-inch displays. One of them is very driver-focused, so you can see your speed, you can see your range, you can obviously switch between different modes. Eco mode is very slow in this car, which it should be. You're trying to conserve range. And the first thing we did was charge this thing to full to see how much kilometers we had at 100%. And we measured, what was it, 500?
We got almost 550 when we charged.
Really good.
And it says that you should be getting closer to 500.
We got over it. And we're still over it.
5. We're at 517 right now.
96%. 5 degrees Celsius outside. So it's not like freezing cold where it would affect battery, but it's, you know, it's like a typical fall day weather-wise. And that's really good.
This is significantly more than any other EV that we have driven.
Except for the Model 3. Like, it's right in line with the Model 3.
Model 3, your Model 3 doesn't even get 550 on a full charge.
Yes, it does. It gets like 540, 530. It's pretty much
okay,
Model...
so it's comparable.
And same with the Model Y, right? The drive modes are good. If you're driving on the highway, I really suggest leaving it in normal if you want to get a little bit of more pep to pass people, because Eco is a little bit too slow. I like some of the accents, the little pixels in the middle of the actual horn. Of course, you have your controls on the wheel, just like you do with the Kia EV6 and the Ioniq 5. This little
I
changed
love how you can
Really?
change gears.
I don't
Yeah.
know. It looks
you
a
kind of
little-
just turn this and it changes gears. I like
I know,
that.
but this just feels really cheap in my opinion.
I don't agree.
I feel like the functionality, the practicality of it is good, which I agree with you, but the actual design of it looks a little cheap in my books.
So the one complaint you had though was switching for regenerative braking.
Yeah, so
that when you turn off the car and turn it back on,
it doesn't remember.
it stays at level 3. It doesn't stay at iPedal.
I love iPedal because I'm so used to it. And look, it's not a big deal. This is a minor complaint. But like, you always have to flick the left paddle to put it back on iPedal if you want to get the full regenerative braking experience. Like if you want that Tesla regenerative experience, which it doesn't remember. So that's kind of unfortunate. I feel like that's something that they could fix in a software update. Speaking of software updates, this does support Android Auto and CarPlay. It's wired. And I want to bring up one problem that my friend, I'll call him Patrick, has with his Ioniq 5. He says he's been having major issues of CarPlay and Android Auto connecting. Like he'll be using it and then it will intermittently just stop working. And
We haven't had that problem.
we haven't had that problem, thankfully, but then again, we've only been using the car for a week. But there is a whole Reddit page of people complaining about the same issue. It's something to do with either the USB port or the connection to the display that's causing this issue. Again, it's not everybody, it's a small percentage of people, but it is a known issue. The other thing I would have loved for this car to have was wireless CarPlay and Android Auto. It should be standard if your car doesn't have like the Tesla software experience because it's mandatory. But I did look into it and it seems that it will be coming to these cars because in Korea, they pushed out a software update giving the Ioniq 5 over there wireless CarPlay. So I'm guessing maybe in another year, we'll have wireless CarPlay on this. I know the Kona Electric, which just came out, automatically has wireless CarPlay. So it should come to this car at some point.
Can we talk about the amount of storage in this car?
Yes.
And how I loved the fact that you aren't restricted here under the armrest to putting your stuff or storing your stuff in a little tiny box, right? You have so much open space. So if you want to put a big purse down here or whatever you want to store, really, you have so much space.
Yeah, so there's a lot of space here, and you also have, even this middle part here opens up and gives you extra space inside. This whole middle console moves forward and back on the all-wheel drive models, not on this one because this is like more of the base model, but even still, like you have lots of storage in there. There's 2 USB ports right behind the cup holders. I would have loved to see some Type-C ports. I feel like USB-A is kind of being taken out, and Type-C would have been a little bit better for a car that looks more futuristic. There is a pad over here that's supposed to be a wireless charger, but again, because this is the base model, it doesn't have wireless charging, but if you pay more for the convenience package, you can wirelessly charge your phone. You have another USB-A port towards the bottom of the floor, which is right beside a 12-volt, 180-watt charging port. So, Andrea, do you find the seats in this car comfortable?
Extremely comfortable.
Really?
No complaints.
Okay. See,
No complaints. And this is not even, I mean, I guess the material makes a bit of a difference, but overall, I think the seats are a great width.
yeah, the space-wise, they're
tons
fantastic.
Of space. I think they're great. I love them.
See, I disagree. I think space-wise, I agree with you. There's a lot of room, but they feel like the Ioniq 6, right? Like they're very hard. I feel like if I was to drive in this car for 2-3 hours,
You find the seats hard?
my butt would start to hurt.
I find them so comfortable.
Really? I
yeah.
feel like for like the quick drive,
really
they're
like
comfortable,
them.
but
The
I don't know.
headrest is really comfortable
like
too.
I'm comparing it to my Tesla, right? Those seats are so
Those are
cushiony.
comfortable, but I wouldn't say that these are significantly
I don't know.
less
I feel like
comfortable.
they're a little bit too firm for me. But I do love the fact that there's no thing in the middle that blocks your knee, so I can like put my knee wherever I want, kind of like touches
Yeah, that's
it.
a weird complaint.
That's a Matt Mona's complaint.
Yeah.
But anyways,
Who puts their leg out like that?
I do.
What are you're gonna like spread your legs
If
when
I
you're
could, I would.
when you're driving?
Actually, speaking of spreading your legs, oh geez. Speaking of spreading your legs, you could put the seat all the way back, okay, and turn it into an actual bed. Like I could just do one of these, you know?
Yours is manual, by the way. By the way,
I could just go like this
the passenger seat on the
and sleep.
cheaper model is manual. It's not automatic.
No, it's not.
Right.
But you know what? This is actually quite comfortable. They did this on purpose because what's happening is when you charge your car, which by the way, it charges from 10 to 80% in 18 minutes,
Which is awesome.
which is really good. When you're charging your car, you can have a little nap and dream about having wireless CarPlay. Other thing I like about this car is the visibility.
great visibility
Oh man,
in the
it's
front,
so good.
especially. The
Windows
dash
are
is
nice and big.
similar to your Tesla 3.
Yeah, Tesla Model 3, Andrea. We can do this. And then, like,
Same thing.
vanity mirrors. Look at this.
Yeah. You can see your
Huge.
ugly face. all day.
Excuse me, this face is beautiful. This is like the Mona Lisa. So this is the outside of the car. As you approach, the door handles, they pop out just like on the Ioniq 6. Some people might find this awkward because when you're grabbing it, it's kind of like, I don't know, someone's giving you something in the wrong hand or like backwards to get into the car. You get used to it, but it's not as natural as a regular door handle. But I love the look. Like, this thing looks absolutely awesome. The back window comes tinted standard, which I think is fantastic on an EV, as it will help out in the summertime to keep the car cooler. I'm loving these kind of retro vibed hubcaps on the wheels. These have winter tires on them right now because this is rear wheel drive and we are in Canada. But the look of this just reminds me of the 80s. Like, I feel like a little kid again, and I love what the designers have done with this. And if you take the time to look at this car, you're gonna see pixels everywhere. We have pixels in the lights. We have lines going across the sides. I think overall, it looks classy. Now, the front of the car is hands down the best looking part, at least in my opinion. You have this black looking crossbar going over here. There's no grills. It doesn't look fake. It looks electric, and I think they did such an amazing job on the design. You have lights on the bottom, more lines going through the middle, pixel lights that pop up when the lights are blinking. Unfortunately, the frunk is there, but it's not a massive frunk, right? It's big enough where you can place your charging cables. Now, if you do buy the all-wheel drive version of this car, this little frunk will actually be a bit smaller because it takes up more space due to the motor. Now, on the back of the car, you have more pixels. They're embedded into the lights. They do light up red, which I think looks really cool. Even the grille back here has pixels embedded into it. Ioniq 5 symbol. You have your lights on the bottom, swooshes down. There's no back wiper, which is kind of unfortunate. I know that's been one of the biggest complaints. It's been raining today, but it hasn't been an issue in terms of visibility. I didn't feel like not having the wiper being a problem, but maybe in the wintertime, if you quickly want to see out the back, that could raise an issue. But of course, you could always just turn on your defrosts or manually clean it yourself if you need to see out the back window. Getting into the car, because this is the long-range model, not with the fancy upgrades, there is a little button over here, but you have to manually open the trunk yourself. There's no button to do it unless you pay for the ultimate package, but there's a handle here if you want to quickly close it down. Lots of space, okay? Lots of space. 527 liters, which I feel like works out to about 27 cubic feet. These seats back here recline, so if you need more space to put stuff in the trunk, you can always push these seats forward. Unfortunately, there's no electric option to like have the seats go down from the back. You will have to move around the car to manually move the seats away. There is space underneath the back over here where you can place your cables underneath. It's not a lot of space, but it's just enough to put your cables inside. To charge the car, the port is on the back right of the car if you're facing it from the back. You just press the little pixel icon over here, it flies open, and of course you have your level 1 and 2 charging with the top option. This is CCS, more pixels, which I absolutely dig. You have a close button to close the flap, and if you want to use the faster charging, you just pull out this tab so you can connect the quick charging option for the full effect.
Headspace is very, very forgiving.
Very forgiving. So
right?
like if you're very tall, you're gonna have no problem placing your head back there.
Exactly. But the best feature back here, I think, is the part that we talked about before.
You can recline.
You can recline so far back. So I could take a really nice nap back here.
Yes.
So can my kids, or you can put it all the way up if you don't want to recline. So I really love the two-tone colors in this car. I think it's really nice and really classy. I don't love the fact that you have to put your hand here to close the door. So when you open it, you kind of have to just grab here.
I don't think that's a big deal.
I don't love it, but it isn't a big deal. Tons of legroom. I think more legroom than in most cars that we've driven so far. No hump on the floor, which is amazing. You have so much room for the person in the middle. Tons of legroom. Windows, the car's not on right now, but the windows do go up and down really quickly.
Very fast, I like.
Very fast. I like that you have your venting on the side. Not a ton of storage back here. You have room for a small water bottle in the doors, so not a ton of room. barely any room here. You might be able to fit a few papers, but that's basically it. You have some charging ports back here.
USB-A again, which is unfortunate.
2 charging ports. A little bit of space here for, I don't know, some keys maybe.
Yeah.
Nothing too exciting back here, but tons and tons of room. So you'll never have a complaint about lack of leg space.
How's the cup holder doing today?
We talked about that already.
We're talking about no cup
Just
holders.
said there's a cup holder?
In the middle of the seat, lady.
I thought you meant oh yeah, cup holder. We have 2 of those.
Unfortunately, there's no cover for it, so your elbow will go in.
But most cars don't have a cover.
I know, but
right?
smart ones put a cup
Smart ones
holder.
do, but not many. No access to the back, but you can put the seat down, so you have access this way.
So the big question, is the Hyundai Ioniq 5 worth the watt? Look, this is hands down on our short list, so obviously it is. We really love the smooth driving. We love the spacious cabin, which I think makes it a great family car, considering that it's not one of the widest vehicles on the road as it is a crossover. It's one of the more affordable EVs you can buy today. And even though this design has been used by Hyundai now for the past couple of years, it's still at the top list for a lot of people to consider if you're looking at your very first EV. I love the fact that Hyundai is packing in so much tech. They're putting in stuff that usually costs more on other vehicles in a package that is priced a little bit lower. So yes, we're keeping it on the short list, and I suggest you do as well if you're looking at this as your very first EV. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section down below. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you in the next one.